Hey there, Nomads of Lore. I'm Jonathan.
And I'm Sean.
And together we are Mead and Mischief, your home away from no home.
Yep.
Today's video is our Take 2 reaction to Episode 6 of The Wheel of Time. Quick spoiler warning, we're going to be discussing everything from episodes 1 through 6, or it'll be at least spoiled through 6, whatever. We may not be discussing anything earlier, but anyway,
Right.
whatever. And then for the books, if there are any spoilers, it'll be very mild, probably none at all. And if we do have a spoiler, we will make sure to interject a spoiler tag and then let you know when you can jump back in. How this video is going to be broken up. First of all, we're going to talk about how our feelings are, if they've stayed the same or changed for the episode, and then a few things we liked, didn't like about the episode, and then probably end with our favorite scene from the episode, each of our favorite scenes. So how are you feeling at this point?
So when we did our initial reaction, I was generally real positive. The only things that I didn't like were more like questioning things and was kind of wondering about some things or some stuff that I thought was kind of goofy, but was pretty dismissive of. One in particular I'll talk about in more detail in a minute or two. But as you know, as we always do between our initial thoughts reaction and our take 2 reaction, I watched some non-book reader views, and I read our comments, and we did our live and all these other things. And actually, slowly but surely, as I was doing this, when I did episode 5, my likes just kind of climbed, and it's gonna be really funny. I keep thinking, at the end of this season, I'm gonna end up thinking episode 5 is like one of my favorite episodes, and initially it was like my least favorite at the time. But episode 6 was slowly but surely starting to go the other way around, and I was starting to think, okay, is this as good as I initially thought? Is there some goofy things? Well, we did spend a whole nother episode on world building and with no action. And I'm not a big action guy, so that's that's not a thing for me. But I was thinking, all that, and then there was some logical inconsistencies, one of which I'm going to talk about, and some things I was like, what is the, I don't know. Is this episode as good as I thought? And there were some things that we had some questions about and we were wondering about. And in that reaction, in the comment section, we had some really great comments, as we usually do. You guys have been amazing. Can't say that enough. And had some good comments, good feedback on some of our thoughts and our questions. And then I was having this conversation with this guy in the comment section and talking about the early scene or the later scene with Moraine and some of the wording with the oath rod scene and some of that stuff. And did she lie? Did she not lie? What did this mean? Was there another oath? What's going on here? And I was having this conversation. It was a great conversation, and it was not an argument at all. It was just kind of thinking through some stuff and ideas and whatever else. And then the person I was commenting with responded to something I had said, and they made another good point and all of that. And it hit me as I was doing that I'm having a whole lot of fun having this conversation. This is like a lot of fun. I'm really legitimately enjoying this conversation. And I was thinking through what Moraine said and what Swan said and all these different things and what these things could mean. And it hit me that this is a beautiful, amazing example of the game of houses, of Deus de Mar. And for those of you who think, oh, that's a book spoiler, whatever, it's all that you really need to know is political games, basically. And so it's not spoiling anything about what that is, it's a beautiful example of that done well. And Aes Sedai layering meaning within their words and working around. I mean, that's working around the three O's and within them and all of that stuff. And us being able to dissect this and think through, well, what if this and what if that? And when those two thoughts hit me, that I was enjoying this, and this is a great example of that all of a sudden fixed a whole lot of the issues I was starting to have with this episode. And I don't know if this is my favorite episode. I wouldn't say that at all. But I now, because of having those thoughts, really overall am feeling really good about this episode and enjoy all the things that I did enjoy then, I still enjoy. And some of these things that I was kind of like, I don't know about, I'm really excited about now, and it's a lot of fun. So overall, my feelings have ultimately gone up, even though it was a little bit of a roller coaster for a little, and still may be. I mean, I may think about new things. That's we take in new information, have new ideas all the time. We used to say that the Rise of Skywalker was a good film. So our opinions changed.
Did we?
Yeah, our first video on this channel was a review of the Rise of Skywalker,
review?
and overall we were pretty positive.
I think you remember. Oh, that's terrible. We're taking that video down after we get done with this one.
No. Our opinions change over time.
Anyway, no. As far as this is concerned, this episode, I really enjoyed episode 6. I haven't really changed much of my opinion. There's some things that I noticed a little bit more after watching it a second time, and things that either made me madder or made me happier. So it kind of all ended up
it's like a major
balancing out.
theme of the wheel time is balance, right?
That's right. So yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much the same. There's some really cool scenes that I really liked. We can get into that in a little bit. There's some scenes that I had problems with that. Kind of the Oath Rod scene that you're talking about. I had little thoughts about that for a while, and then some other stuff. But for the most part, there's just the acting in general, the way. In fact,
what about that Swan Sanche, man?
Yeah, for reals.
For
reals.
Oh, I am not fooled.
Something I don't even know if I've said this on camera, but I am actually enjoying, like, even though I've read through the books, so I know what happens there, I'm actually enjoying the little bit of not really knowing what's coming next.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they've changed some stuff. There's obviously the core things that we know already and that probably will stay the same, but I'm actually enjoying kind of the surprise, rediscovery. Yeah, the surprise, the rediscovery of things. So anyway, it's super interesting. So
super fun. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Some of the things that we didn't like in this episode, critiques.
Yeah.
Again, we liked the show. If we weren't having fun, we wouldn't do this.
Yes.
We're not being paid by Amazon. At least not that.
I think that was another sourdough comment.
We do have affiliate links down in the description now.
That's right.
We've grown enough to do that. But other than that, we're not being paid. And actually, we haven't even been paid for that yet. But yeah. So having said that, don't know if I can be any clearer. There are some critiques I have with this episode. One in particular that has gone down significantly in my estimation. When in our first reaction, there was part of it that I noted. One part I didn't even think about, which I'll talk about in a minute. And part of it I noted, but I was just kind of dismissive of. And I was like, yeah, this is kind of silly, but whatever. But I now really think it's a little bit ridiculous and a little bit silly. And of course, like anything else, you can explain it away with whatever, and that's fine. And even I can do that, but I don't like it right now, and I'm allowed to not like something and still like the show. But that is the very end of the cold open. Having said that, I love the cold open a lot still. I still really like the Swan on stuff and her with her father and her using the power. I'm totally good with that. Some people have had concerns about her using the power and learning weaves early. The one rebuttal I have to say that without getting into spoilers is the further we get into the book series, the more we realize that a lot of the women in the White Tower don't always know everything about channeling in the outside world, outside of the tower, and then we learn that their knowledge of some of those things is not omnipotent, and some of the things, some of the unreliable narrator things happen. And so, not getting into spoilers, I'm okay with that, and partially because of that reason, and partially because I think it's just really well done. It's a beautiful little scene, and so I like the cold open. The ending of the cold open is where I have an issue with, and my issue gone from just like whatever to like I really don't like it. I think it's dumb, and so at the end of the cold open, of course, these Swan and her father have been off and they are fishing. Either in the river, the ocean, or whatever. We only see them in the river. In fact, when he casts the nets, if I'm not greatly mistaken, they're in the river, not in the ocean, not way the heck down the way. And then they get back and their house is burned down. They would have had to go a really long way away. And I know it was mountainous, so maybe they went around the corner or something. or whatever, that they couldn't see the smoke from their house burning down.
Yeah.
But it's just a logical inconsistency that if we weren't probably doing these reviews and watching this stuff multiple times, I probably wouldn't have thought much about it.
Yeah.
And so this is more of a very nitpick kind of a reviewer problem with a thing. But it's just kind of a logical jump that now that I've thought more about it, takes me out of the episode. So I'm not a fan of that. And the second part of that ending of the cold open, and this one is one of the things that watching non-book readers decreased my estimation of this part, and that is the dragon fang symbol on there. As book readers, we're excited about the dragon fang symbol and seeing that, and it's like, oh, that's an Easter egg, whatever else. We've already said before in other videos that we think some of the earlier ways they've done it where it's a little bit clunky at best, but this one especially, I watched some book readers that were confused about that being there. And by the third time of having this kind of Easter egg, you really ought to have enough
Some
information
clue
in the show that gives you some clue. And so there's, what is this symbol? And they, is this Aes Sedai? Are they burning down the house to get her to come to the tower? And so that was just not clear about what was going on there. Excuse me.
No, I even saw another guy talking about whether or not it was something to do with the dragon, the false dragons,
Right?
or man channeling or something like that. And so they're like, "Wait, what is it doing on this little girl's house? Are they confused about the dad or whatever?" And it was like, "Yeah, it's confusing."
And to be clear, the reason why I have an issue with that is because there have been several changes in the show that seem very clear to us that they made specifically to help new viewers, and so this one, they failed at that, it seems to us. And so that's why I have an issue with it. I mean, as a book reader, actually, that was the most book-accurate Dragon Fang. Like, that was really good Easter. That one was a solid Easter egg. That one wasn't clunky. That one was really good. And if that was the first time we'd seen it, I would be easier on it, honestly, because then those questions, but at this point, we've seen that symbol so many times. And so it's nitpicky, ultimately, I think, but I am not a fan of it. I think it was a misstep. So yeah, that's something that I am currently having an issue with in this episode. What about you?
Yeah, so the one little thing that I didn't like, there's a few things that I didn't like, but the one thing that I didn't like the most is really, really nitpicky, and it has to do with the ways. Loyal and the Ogier are one of my many favorite parts of the books.
So many good things.
There's so many awesome things, and the steading and the things that you learn about the steading and the ways and why they were built and all the different things. I don't want to go into too much like spoiler whatever,
right?
But the reasoning for the ways being built doesn't make sense with how they were opened, with an Aes Sedai having to channel to open them, and so. I know they can fix that. I know it's not just whatever, but that annoyed me. Also, the look of them in general, just the
way gate
itself. Yeah, not the actual inside, but the gate. I was not a fan of it. I don't know what I expected or what I thought of whenever I think it was a little bit more ornate and more natural looking.
Well, a more book accurate way. I think they could have used this. Is we're not ones for being like they should have done it like the book.
Yeah.
Has to be just like we're not that guy.
No.
We're not that guy, pal. We're not that guy. But in this instance, I think they could have done a more book accurate waygate.
Yeah.
And it probably still would have worked for what they were doing. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't like the look of them. I didn't like how it was done. And that's really my biggest. I had a little bit of a problem with the oath rod portion that you talked about early on.
A little bit of concern. Yeah.
A little. Yeah, not sure.
How are you feeling about that now?
I think it's a little better. No, I mean, I there was a lot of really good comments from you guys about it because we questioned it so much. Some people just kind of dismissive of it, which was whatever, but. Yeah, a lot of people were actually like, "Well, it could have been this," and there was some good thoughts in there. And
there were some phenomenal comments.
Yeah, there were.
Yeah.
And so I'm not having as much of a problem with that anymore. And really, there's nothing else in the episode that's like
bugging you a lot.
Bugging me,
right?
Yeah, terribly.
Yeah,
so,
cool.
Yeah. So my favorite thing, I think, out of this episode, has got to be. You guys hear me all the time talking about him, so it's not going to be a surprise to anybody.
Hablar!
But Logain Hablar is awesome, and
Yes,
he didn't even have that long of a. I mean, he was only in there for 2 minutes, but not only him, but also Swan, the way they played off each other, and man, I said what's crazy is that is one of those scenes where, you know, we talk about episodes, how we go from not liking to liking them, and I went from 180 hating this scene because we saw it out of context prior to the episode.
I didn't know you were feeling that strong.
Well, I was pretty upset about
concerned about it
because of things that are spoilery, so I won't say them. But anyway, I was really hating it because it was taken out of context, and then when we saw it in all of its glory, it was like, okay, I totally understand it now, and it is just beautiful. Logain's acting is just phenomenal, and Swan is doing really well too. We pretty much the three characters. Well, I guess there's four. Moraine is doing a really good job. Nynaeve is doing a really good job.
So good.
Yeah, and Logain and now Swan. Those four are my favorite out of what we've seen so far.
See that.
There's so many good ones. I'm not saying nobody
so
else.
Much good acting
there's
in
so
this
many
show.
other
In our opinion.
Yeah, Land's doing a great job. I mean, there's some really good stuff, but those four are just like every time they're on, I'm like, oh my god. What's your favorite scene from this episode?
My favorite scene from this episode is unfortunately the scene with Logain and Swan, because it is dadgum awesome for all the reasons you said, and just I'm loving Logain and just as much as you are, but I think I'm liking Swan even more, and it's just that scene, her etherealness and her regalness and her, and there's one that, you know, she seemed kind of cruel at the end, and I don't know about that, but other than that, that scene was so awesome. Loved it so much. That is our opinion. But because he stole my favorite as well, I'm going to talk about another scene, which we're going to call...
It's not you stealing mine. Well, you know, because you said it first. Or something. Yeah, exactly. So it'd be you stealing mine. Oh, trying to steal mine, because I'm the one that said it. Well, here, you can have it back.
Okay.
I'm going to talk about another scene that I don't know if it's really my second favorite scene. Actually, what I really wanted to say when I was trying to think through what my favorite scene was, and actually... Don't pay any attention to the man behind the curtain, but we kind of talked about this ahead of time, so I knew he was going to steal it. Oh no, process revealed. And so actually when I was trying to think about what other scene I wanted to talk about, I actually kind of had the thought to talk about the Moraine sipping tea and listening and whatever else. I know it's a really small scene, but I really, really, I like that little moment. That was cool. But the scene that I want to talk about actually is going to be kind of a controversial pick for a favorite scene, I think, but among book readers in particular.
We hate it already.
Yeah. And so that scene is the Matt getting healed scene, where Moraine heals him and takes care of him. Now, to talk about that, I want to talk about that in a little bit more detail. So I'm going to give a book spoiler warning through about book 3. I think it's part way through book 3, but through book 3, and we'll put a timestamp for when you can come back after the spoiler is over. So anyway, so Matt is healing scene. Now what I wanted to talk about in particular is what I like about this scene is it's pretty much straight out of the books right now from what we've seen so far. Now, because the way it was shot and the way things happened afterwards, there's still a fair amount of ambiguity, because of course the issue with this scene is the issue that we thought about when we were first watching it, especially while it was happening, is Matt, in order for him to be completely healed and severed from the dagger and all that stuff, it took a full circle of 13 plus a ter'angreal and all that stuff to take. So it was a big deal. And so if Moraine has completely healed him and severed him from the dagger, then that wouldn't be as awesome as it is in the book, and that would be a letdown at the very least. It wouldn't be a deal breaker, and but it would be something I would be disappointed in. And just like I'm actually a little bit disappointed that we didn't see the scene where Swan meets Nynaeve for the book, because that's a awesome scene. Would have loved to see her wrap her up in weaves and shove her against the wall. That's hilarious. But not talking about that scene. Still talking about this scene with Matt. I really like the visualization of and Moraine struggling to deal with that. And I really think, based on the things that Moraine said after, and even we know some of the reasons why it happened, or potentially why it happened, as far as Barney Harris leaving the show and whatever else. But even Matt staying behind, and that adds to the possibility and the likelihood that it's not over with that, whether he's going to touch it and reestablish that connection or whatever. There's a lot of things to where that could not be over, and it could be more like in the books. And so it was really neat. Now, the one that we mentioned this in our reaction is the one downside of that scene, as far as I can see, is although we like the visualization of what we assume is Mushadar, it's very book accurate, the slick, oily black substance or whatever. The one thing that is a downside is it might be a little bit confusing to non-book readers, because the way they visualize that is very similar to the way they visualize the corruption and stuff in other scenes. So that, not as big a fan of, but overall really like that scene a lot, and wanted to point out some of the things around it, especially in case you haven't seen our initial reaction. So
yeah. Another scene I'm really liking is the scene of Matt at the end. It's really funny because I know a lot of people are not liking that, and I know anyway, I know, we know that Matt is gone after
Barney
episode
Harris.
6. Yeah, Barney Harris is gone after episode 6. That he probably didn't shoot anything up 7 and 8, but he could have shot things early. Who knows? We don't know what's going to happen. Yeah. But I am really enjoying the fact that scene opens up so many possibilities for things that they could do with Matt in the future. So
whether it's a happy accident or whether it's it really works. Plot wise for some, like what I was just talking about. It gives opportunities in that for sure. So the other thing that this is kind of small, although it's the main thread of the episode, really, that I wanted to mention. This, it's not really a scene, but really, if I was to give my favorite thing about this episode, it would be Moraine. And her with this, she's been kind of a main character throughout the show so far. But this episode, I felt like we really got to spend some really cool time with her and developing her and seeing her, like I mentioned before, her playing the game of houses repeatedly, and her and her spy networks and all of these things. And just, like I mentioned just a minute ago, the little tea sipping scene, just all this stuff with Moraine was just so much fun, and I really, really loved that about this episode. That is, again, not my favorite scene, but really my favorite thing, maybe even more than the Logain Swan thing, although I love that. That's my favorite scene, but my favorite thing about this episode is easily all the Moraine we got. Even her playing and her lying, but not lying to Perrin, to Egwene, and then to Rand, and I've got my best. I have it on good authority that
good authority that they're
loved
still alive.
That was just so much. It was so much fun.
Yep.
Great.
It's definitely Moraine for sure. Yeah. So like Sean mentioned a little bit ago, we got some links down in the description. I think we have all the Wheel of Time hardcovers and some of our gear and stuff, whatever, linked down there. Affiliate links from Amazon, because that's the first thing we've been able to actually monetize with our channel. So if you guys want to, if you guys want to support us, get down there, click on those links. You don't even have to buy anything there. If you buy anything with it, after you've clicked on the link, if you buy anything in the next 24, 48 hours, get some Christmas shopping done. That'll help us, support us, and we'll actually get a check from Jeff. Maybe, probably won't say Jeff, all those things. But anyway, be on the lookout for a Foundations of the Wheel of Time episode. Not episode, but
for non-book readers.
For non-book readers, if you want to check that out, we're going to kind of give it some thoughts there. Hopefully help some of y'all on some questions, but without spoiling things. And then number 2, we've got our reaction coming for episode 7, obviously, on Friday.
Drops,
and then, of course, our live on Saturday again. Would love to see you there if you haven't been able to make it. It's 11 o'clock.
They've been a blast.
They have been super fun. 11 o'clock Central. Also in the description, there is affiliate links for the hardcovers of the Wheel of Time. If you want to give us some support, go down there, click on those links. There's some gear also down there, but it doesn't matter. Just click on one of those links, and you don't even have to buy what's on the link. You can surf around, find whatever you need on Amazon, some late gift shop, whatever stuff, and that'll help support our channel. So thank you guys, and we'll see you on the flip side.
Like, comment, subscribe.
All the things.
Bye-bye.
Bye.